Good morning, May 9th, almost noon I guess. I haven't looked at the time here a little bit, but what you're looking at here is the hive that we call Baker, and it's the more northern of my two hives, and that is a nucleus hive. That's a lot of times when you purchase bees, you purchase them in what's called a nucleus hive, and it holds 5 frames of bees. It's a working colony. All the frames are intact. They're a functioning colony with a queen. But that box is not expandable. I will be moving them into my larger hives that you've become accustomed to seeing in my other videos. And they've been here since Saturday, so they've been here for, since the weekend. And it's Tuesday now, so it's just been busy with other things. And I thought I'd put the camera at a different perspective here, down the hill from the hive, kind of zoomed in and pointing up at it. If I do any talking, you probably won't be able to hear me, so I probably won't do any talking to you. But you might hear me talking to my bees because I tend to do that. And a couple things that you can watch for as I'm making this transplant. First of all, I've got them set right exactly where their hive is going to be. They are on top of the hive stand. So that little black strip that's across beneath the brown plastic hive there, you see there's a little right in the middle of it. Let's see if I shouldn't have to point it out to you, but right about there's a little doorway. And as I move them into the other box, frame by frame, that will become the entrance and exit. Well, all those foragers that are coming and going, there's thousands of them right now that are out and about, they're going to come back to find that their doorway has moved. And even though it's only going to be about 6 or 8 inches lower than where it's currently at, they'll still have to discover it. They'll come right back to just below that blue plastic where they're coming and going right now. And that door, that's where they're going to arrive, geographically, right in that area, and wonder where their door is at. And then they'll have to use their sniffers to find the pheromone, and they'll crawl around and sniff around, and they'll find that opening. And in a matter of a few hours, they will all have learned that the doorway has moved down 8 inches, and it'll all be fine. But the whole reason for setting up the hive in that location and giving them a couple of days to orientate, they know this is where home is. So the home is not going to move, but the doorway is. So it'll be interesting if you watch as I go here, and you'll see them starting to get a little bit more confused about where the doorway is at, and you'll see them starting to figure it out. So without further ado, I'm going to finish suiting up and start working, and enjoy the footage. So I decided to go ahead and insert some voiceover here, because there's some things I would like to point out to you as I do this. And when I first reviewed my video after I was all done with this later on that evening, and I was previewing what I had recorded just to see how my footage turned out, I discovered something pretty amazing. Right there you can see on my suit that the relief zipper is open. And that's my blue shirt underneath that's showing through. So my suit was not really closed up, and these bees got kind of angry. But luckily, none of them found their way inside, and I did not know that that zipper was open. I could have had bees inside my suit, all over inside my suit, but probably mostly around my groinal region. I'm glad they didn't find it. But what's even more amazing is that when I was done with this hive, and later on in this video, you'll just see the footage of the bees, learning their new home. And what's not on camera is me over at the other hive doing the same job that I'm doing to this hive. And it took a little longer because I discovered a lot of interesting things inside of it. But those bees got very, very angry with me. They were not happy at all. They were trying to attack my head, my face, through my suit. But once again, my zipper was open. My relief zipper was open, and I did not realize it. So I was very fortunate to not get stung under those circumstances. But yeah, wasn't until I watched the video back. You see, there it is, just wide open, XYZ. Bees could have come right inside there if they, had just found that opening. So, some things you see me doing there at that hive is I'm pulling those frames out of the nucleus box to put them into that wooden hive body there. I'm removing pieces of burr comb and cleaning them up so that they are all uniform and fit. Inside those boxes, the bees have built weird comb in weird places, trying to expand in a box that just doesn't have room for them. That's why it's really important to get them into a larger hive body like the one that I'm putting them into. If they run out of room, they will swarm. You will lose half your colony. They will abandon that hive to go find a new home and leave behind part of the colony. They'll create a new queen, but I will lose the queen that I just paid money for, and half of my colony, so I don't want that to happen. No beekeeper wants that to happen. So this is playing double speed right here. So this footage took twice as long in real life as what you're seeing now, and it's fine. It gives you a good visual. If you watch how many bees are clustered on the outside of that box, they're trying to find the entrance where it used to be, and there's that little chevron-shaped cutout in the front of the box. That's a handle for carrying the box around, and they're obviously inspecting that because they think it might be a doorway, but they can't get in through it. It doesn't go anywhere. And now I'm going to go off and get the second box. Normally most years I would wait a week or two to put the second box on, but there's so many bees already in this colony that I want to give them as much extra space as I can right away. So I'm going to come back and throw a second box on top of there, and then it'll be out of frame because it'll be up too high for the camera to show it, but I'll put the lid on and get it all strapped together. And then I will come back around to the camera and I'll tell you some things that I learned while I was doing that particular job. And then that's about it. There'll be some more voiceover coming up shortly. So as you can see, they're none too happy with me right now because I did not use any smoke to calm them. Sometimes it's just faster to just get it done. If you're not going to spend a long time in there, just get it over with. Most of the bees that are here present are not foragers, and they don't, believe it or not, you're seeing a lot of bees that aren't ready to fly. So they're not really a problem. The ones that are in the air, probably a couple of hundred. If I did this earlier in the morning or later in the afternoon when most of the foragers are home, that plume of bees would be much larger. And it's hard to see right now, but there's actually quite a few of them in the air if I was to zoom back. But I got gloves on, I can't do any zooming right now. It doesn't work to touch the screen when you're wearing beekeeper gloves. But yeah, you see where they're all landing on the front of that hive. They're trying to figure out where their entrance went. And if you look down below on the board, there's a lot of activity. There are bees coming and going. And what's also happening down there is that there are bees fanning. They're using their Nasanov gland, which is what transmits the pheromone that's familiar with that colony. And they're down there fanning it. They have the little butts in the air and they're fanning it and making sure that there was a disturbance. And they're letting anybody who's out and about say, hey, we're over here, here's the doorway, here's the hive. And that cluster on the front, they'll all either crawl back in, or some of them will head out, looking for pollen and such, come back later and figure it out. But already the air is starting to calm down, and I'm just going to go ahead and let this footage roll for a few minutes while I get set up for the second hive. I'm not going to bother filming the second hive. It's going to be a duplicate of the exact same thing I just did. So not much to show you there. I was, however, looking for the queen, but I was moving fast. I did not spot her. Should I spot the queen in the second hive, I'm prepared to put her in a cage and mark her. Oh, I got a bee trying to sting my face right now. They found me. They found me over here by the camera. They're still not happy with me. But anyways, I'm prepared to mark a queen should I find one, because my queens, to my knowledge, are not marked. Usually pay more money for that, and it's not necessary. But either way, these queens are 2003, and the color for 03 and 08, any year ending in a 3 or an 8, is red. So I have red queens. Should I find them, I'll mark them with a red dot on the back of the thorax. But if I don't find them, I won't worry about it. It's not super important to mark them. But sometimes it's nice to know, because if you have them for several years and you find one in there, it's nice to know that she's 3 years old or whatever, because at that point you might be wanting to replace her anyways. So marking them, it's not a bad idea to keep track of how old the queen is, but I only have 2 hives, so keeping track is easy for me. But in places where there's dozens or even hundreds of hives, you have to have some way of keeping track of it. So I'll let this footage roll, but you can see that they're starting to thin out on the front, and they're more and more they're finding out where the doorway is, and pretty soon they'll be calm enough and they'll forget that I was ever there. But I'll let this roll for a little bit. You can probably hear in the background there that somebody just laid an egg. And as I was getting started, somebody had laid an egg too. So we've got 2 fresh eggs up there I'm going to gather in the meantime. Okay, so this footage is running at 10 times normal speed. So the next 2 minutes of footage represents actually 20 minutes of actual time, and that's about how long it took me to get that other hive installed, another nucleus hive just like the one you just watched, putting it into my other wooden hive bodies. Those bees were much angrier, much more quickly to anger, and what I've discovered inside that hive was 5 different queen cells, which is what they call swarm cells. Those bees were getting ready to swarm out because they had outgrown that nucleus box. So the fact that I got them installed before they did that was really good. I could have lost my bees very quickly. I didn't realize they were that close to it until I got inside there and found those swarm cells. So putting them into a bigger box and removing those prospective queens from those frames should have fix that problem, should have resolved that issue. Meanwhile, look at all those bees in the front of the hive. You notice how many fewer there are now. And I'm going to go ahead and post a before and after, and then you'll see a very winded me explain to you what happened. I'm not sure how the focus is on this. Hopefully you can see me. That is the angriest I've ever made a hive. And if I hadn't been wearing a suit, if I hadn't been suited up, I would have been stung profusely. Those girls are upset. And it's fine, they're crowded. It turns out, well, it's a good thing. It's a good thing I transplanted them when I did. What I found inside there was swarm cells. So, short definition for that is they've run out of room and they can't expand their hive anymore because it's in that little box. They're getting ready to split and swarm. I'm ready to lose my queen and half of my bees. I've only had them for a couple of days, so we don't want that. Anyways, I had to walk halfway around the property just to get them to stop trying to attack me. We'll give them some time to settle down, and I'll go back there, button things up. But yeah, nick of time getting them into that new box. much larger box. They now have a lot more space than they previously had. So it's good. It's a thriving colony. I expect good things out of them this year. So anyways, that's it. I'm gonna end the video now. Thank you for watching.